Hi everyone, welcome to the Spring Hangout. It's very exciting to have you. Okay, cool. So welcome. My name is Dr Adeela Afiz. Thank you to so many of you that have joined who I always get blown away because you've never heard of me. I haven't been to see you or been to your country yet, and yet here you are joining us. So welcome and thank you once again. So today what I'm actually going to do is, before we do anything else, and whether you're on live with us right now or you're listening to or watching a recording, I actually just want everyone to take a nice deep breath in and breathe out. And I'm just going to get you to do a little exercise for me now. So just want you to close your eyes, and I want you to completely relax in your body. And I want you to just, again, take another deep breath in, breathe out, and hold the thought in your head that you don't need to worry about anything else for the next hour. You don't need to worry about logically understanding this information. What's going to happen is your body is really smart. It's going to take what it needs from this hangout. It's going to receive the information that it needs. You don't need to worry about whether you're understanding it all, whether you're getting it, whether you took enough notes. We're going to send you everything you need afterwards. And yeah, okay. So from that space, where your body's receiving, your cognitive mind isn't too worried, now we're going to begin. Okay, so as I said, my name's Dr Adeela Afiz. I'm a chiropractor, I'm a body worker, I'm a body whisperer, and I'm an Access Consciousness humongous fan, as well as Bar's facilitator and practitioner. So what's going to happen today is we've actually got a little bit of form and structure for this hangout, which normally I don't have, but because there are so many participants and there is so much information to get through, and basically since I created this hangout, I've had so much information come through me that wants to be shared. I am going to have more structure to this first hangout than I normally would, and then the second two hangouts will be completely free form, as most of these classes tend to be, and then we'll go on from there. Okay, so what's going to happen today is I have two wonderful hosts who've been working very hard behind the scenes, Michelle Edhouse, who I can see, and Tulika Singh from India. So Michelle is my technology person. In a minute, she's going to talk to you all about how to get the best out of this Zoom hangout technology-wise. And Tulika is going to be keeping a track of time for me, making sure I move on when I need to be moving on, and making sure I answer all your questions. So Michelle's just going to talk to you about how you can ask questions now on this hangout. So over to you, Michelle.
Cool. So if everybody move your mouse, and at the bottom of the screen there'll be a little chat box. So all you need to do to ask a question is to click on that chat box and type in the question, and that will appear for us all on the chat screen. Adeela, are you going to take live talking questions if people want to unmute?
Yes, I will. In just a minute, what I'm going to do is I am going to do a little bit of a spiel on body whispering and just highlight the things I will be talking about, or will make sure I cover. And then as I move through the little categories which I want to get through, I will have time for questions in each area. Okay?
Awesome. So if people then want to unmute during those question times, if you mute, move your mouse, and there's a mute button down at the bottom right left hand corner of your screen, and you can just unclick that, and if you are unmuting yourself, if you could please make sure you're in a quiet area. I do have control and I can mute you, so if you come off mute and start making a lot of noise and you're not actually asking questions at that point, I will mute you. So just be aware of that, and you may need to unmute yourself again. Awesome.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to keep going forward. If there's any major issues, type it into that box, or hopefully one of the hosts will let me know if we're having any technology issues. So, like I said, there's a lot of information that we've wanted to get through, and the reason this Body Whispering Hangout was created is I wanted to start to talk to people about what I deal with every day. I'm a health practitioner. I'm a chiropractor, so I work with bodies and people every day. And more and more people are really confused. They don't know about what their bodies want. They don't know what they're meant to be doing, and they don't know about what is meant to work for their bodies, or what regime they're meant to be on, or how they're meant to be eating, and all the information out there on the internet and with different celebrities endorsing different things. People are like, they're confused, and they're wondering why certain things aren't working for their bodies. And so that's something that at a larger scale than one-on-one, I wanted to start to address. And that's why this hangout was created. And then that leads into body whispering, which is what I do as a facilitator and with my clients when they move beyond just that physical aspect. Body whispering is about receiving from your body, and it's about creating in a way, creating your life, creating your health, creating everything you do in a way that's congruent for your body. Now, you're going to hear this word congruent a lot tonight, because in everything that I do, I'm really big on being congruent. Why? Because if you're not congruent with something, it's not going to work for you. If you're not congruent with what you're saying, if you're not congruent with what you're being, if you're not congruent with something you're doing, it's going to create that mismatch of results for you, or it's going to create a half pie result. And people are getting that in their bodies, they're getting that in their health, and they're also getting it in their life. And so I take this concept of congruency and I apply it to everything that I do, and I apply it to my clients, and we get really great results. So we're going to talk about that with the body whispering. So the biggest area that people ask me about, and the thing that I think got the most registrations on, was this area about weight and health, but largely pertaining to weight management, and my body's not losing weight, my body's not looking the way I want it to. And what that leads into is, if your body's not looking the way you want it to, it's often also not functioning that way, or it's not having the health or the ease that you would like to have. So that is what I'm going to talk about. Then I'll open up to questions. And then we're going to move into the free form part of this class, where you can ask me about anything you want, and we'll see where it goes. In the rare instance that I think something you have asked me about is really beyond the scope of this hangout, I will either say, look, this is relevant in the next hangout we're doing about business, or the one about relationships, or I will say, look, you might need to have a private session with me, and I'll let you know how you can do that, okay? Lastly, I just want to let you know that if you get confused, if you start feeling overwhelmed, if you start going, wow, this is a lot of information, because that's what happens with body whispering classes or sessions, that's when you go back to that exercise that we just did at the beginning of this. And for anyone that's missed it or has joined us after we've done that, I just want you all to take a deep breath in and breathe all the way out. And I want you to relax with your body and realize that this is not something that you need to cognitively follow to the letter. Your body's going to receive the information that you require, and that's what will stick with you the most. Okay? So let's talk about bodies first. So here's your little disclaimer. I am a registered health professional, and I am actually allowed to give you information on this. The information I'm going to share with you, though, you're not going to get many health professionals sharing this information. And so I firmly believe that what I'm going to talk about is applicable to or relevant to about 90% of people and bodies that I work with. But in the rare instance that you are in that 10% of people that it's not applicable to, you've got to follow your knowing. So this is the instance where you either ask me a question or you ask me for a private session. What I'm talking about, it'll become obvious to you when I start talking about eating and fasting and what ways of eating I think your body requires. It'll become more easier to understand whether that's applicable to you or not. Okay, so I wanted to start off with talking about food and inflammation, because a lot of people come to me and talk about weight loss, and they're saying that their bodies aren't working in the way they want. And something that I work with a lot in bodies is something called chronic inflammation. Chronic inflammation is when it's not just the joints in your body that can be inflamed. Every aspect of your body can have inflammation. And inflammation most commonly is caused by the things that we ingest. It can be caused by the foods that we eat, by the byproducts that we take into our body, and I dare say the toxins, not only in our environment, but the toxins in our minds or in our way of thinking, where we create a toxic environment for our system. So when I talk about inflammation, I'm talking about the fact that your body either looks or feels puffy, your body looks or feels swollen, your body looks or feels like it can't move with ease when you don't have an injury or are not so old that you shouldn't be able to move with ease. Inflammation occurs in the gut. It causes all sorts of digestive problems. It's a type of body type where when I have clients and they come and lay down on my chiropractic table and I'm touching them or palpating them, their body's almost spongy, okay? So if you have, if you have swollen ankles, if you have baggy under your eyes, if you wake up after you've had a big night of drinking and you're hungover, you might be able to identify that's probably when you can see it. But I'm talking about something that's become so chronic that your whole body is inflamed, okay? So what that causes is a whole host of things where not only do you not look the way you want to look, but you also don't function the way you want to function. You don't have, like I said, ease with movement, but you also don't have the energy levels most usually that you should have or want to have. So inflammation, in my experience, is most commonly caused right now because of the foods that we eat and the way that we're eating. So for those of you who have not done a lot of work in this area, or are not familiar with eating in a way that's congruent for your body, or you haven't done any work on seeing if you are allergic, or you haven't done an elimination protocol, or you haven't done something like access consciousness, which teaches you about how to ask your body what it would like to eat. When I talk about eating in a way that's congruent for your body, I'm talking about needing to relearn what works for your body and what doesn't. Okay, so this is the second exercise I want you to do, which kind of works in with the first one. Everything that you know, everything that you already know about eating, about health, about diets, anything you've been taught or told to do or not to do, for the next 45 minutes, I want you to forget it. I want you to pretend you know nothing about eating or dieting or weight loss, and see how this information lands in your universe and what you think about it or how it makes you feel when you get this information, okay? So I really do believe that not only are we eating some pretty crappy foods because of what is available to us as food sources and what's being sold to us in supermarkets, but also that we're eating way too much. So for most people, and again, remember I said that I think this applies to about 90% of people. You may well be in that 10% that it does not apply to, but I think most people are overeating. I think if you're eating in the way, in the Western world especially, that most of us eat, you're eating in one meal the amount that your body would probably thrive on in a day. I think you're probably also not aware about when you eat a large meal and there's a high portion of carbs, a high portion of protein, you've got dairy in there, you've got some bread in there, you've got all sorts of things, and you're having it with a glass of wine. I also don't think there's a lot of information around what parts of those work for your body and what parts of those don't. So in a minute, I'm actually going to open this up to questions because I really like to make things really relevant. So for those of you that you're struggling to make this relevant to you, I'm going to open up for questions so that I can start to maybe do a couple of one-on-one cases and take you through how to use this process to apply it to yourself. So is there someone, hosts, that sent in a question, or does someone want to unmute themselves and ask me a question in regards to this?
Hi Adeela, Rajni here. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, I've been into access consciousness from quite some time.
Wonderful.
And yeah, I've been attending to the classes, whatever is happening. Recently, there was a 3-day body class which happened in Bangalore. And from 1 month on and off, I had this allergic cold cough. So Cass suggested me some clearing statements related to the control stuff and things like that, where I'm very sensitive for my senses, whatever I'm perceiving. But from past 5-6 days, my condition is very chronic. Severe cough. There's a lot of phlegm coming, and there's little blood also coming through the phlegm. And I had to take a help of the medical thing. But the reports are not that giving any clear indication. And the doctor suspects that to be a tuberculosis, which I feel my body is saying no.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there a way you can just help me out with that?
So you've just done a 3-day body class. The question that comes to my mind is, has your body increased its capacities or become more sensitive to its environment?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. So what you're probably going to find, and this is actually great, we can apply this to a few things here. When your body is going through a period of change, or it's going through a detox, or it's stepping into more capacities or capabilities, sometimes you're going to have a period of feeling like crap, okay? When you go through, for example, if you decide that actually eating high amounts of processed foods that contain lots of high fructose corn syrup doesn't really work for you, and you decide to stop eating those foods, your body's going to feel terrible as it detoxes off them. Sometimes also when people come to see me and they're going through a healing process, they feel like they're getting worse before they get better. So I'm wondering about you, Rajni, and I haven't met you, and I've got a limited amount of time to work with your body as on its own during this forum, but the line of questioning I would be following around your body right now would be, is my body now more sensitive to its environment, or am I now stepping into capacities or capabilities with my body that it's readjusting to, okay? Or is my body going through a detox? I'm not, yeah, and then visit that again in a week, all right?
Yeah, thank you.
No worries. Do you have any other questions?
Yeah, Pooja has written, I have puffy eyes all the time. What do you suggest for that?
Pooja, what kind of puffy eyes? Do you mean bags under your eyes? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
tell me about your diet.
Pooja, do you want to unmute yourself and actually have this conversation?
Hello.
Okay, there she is. Yeah, go ahead, Pooja.
Yeah. I'm vegetarian.
You're vegetarian?
Yes, please.
Yep. Anything else you want to tell me about?
I eat normal vegetable and wheat, rice, dairy product. That's it.
Do you eat a lot of dairy?
Not lot of, but yeah, moderate amount.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm now gonna go through an elimination protocol for you guys, so that if you've got anything, whether it's puffy eyes or puffy ankles, or you get chronic headaches, or whatever it is that your question would be or could be, you can actually apply this to that. Okay. Now, when I say elimination protocol, I just want to address something here. Nothing sounds like a worse idea to me, to my cognitive mind, than doing something called an elimination protocol. It sounds horrendous, okay? And I went through my life until, just 2 years ago, where I never did any sort of elimination protocol. I never got tested for allergens or allergies. My body was a pretty well-functioning average body. I could lose weight and gain weight in a pretty normal manner, exercise, fairly regularly, and my body would basically do what it needed to do. And then what happened is, I started getting, and the first time I heard about an elimination protocol, which an elimination protocol is where you basically go through and eliminate each food group from your diet and see how your body responds. And then see how your body responds when you reintroduce that food group into your body, and see whether you have a reaction or not. So when I first heard about it, I thought, what a ridiculous and terrible and torturous thing to do for your body. And I had I'm a chiropractor, so I'm actually in this industry where people do detoxes and eliminations and eat nothing all the time. And it always sounded like a terrible idea to me, and so did my body, and it was fine. And then about 2.5 years ago, that same protocol, that same elimination protocol that had always sounded like such a terrible idea, my body suddenly started going, yeah, I want to do this. And my mind was going, are you nuts? No way. And my body kept saying, yeah, Adeela, I think I really want to do this. And I finally listened. I finally ordered this pack that takes you through the elimination protocol, gives you the support drops, gives you the things that your body needs to do. Because in effect, you go from eating as you normally would to really not eating much at all when you eliminate dairy, gluten, carbohydrates, sugar from your diet. Okay. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done. And I'm a food lover. And yet I couldn't deny that my body felt amazing. And not only did my body feel amazing and start to look even better than what I thought it would, it actually gave me so much awareness, because like I said, I went through my whole life being pretty certain I had no issues with dairy, no issues with gluten or carbohydrates or nuts or anything at all. What had happened is I didn't realize when my body was bloated. I didn't actually ever know what it felt like to be bloated, because I'd never been not bloated after eating high carbs, and so I'd never actually clicked that that wasn't normal. So I did this elimination protocol, which I found really hard, and I was eating pretty much 100 grams of protein and then fresh vegetables or salad for 2 to 3 meals a day. And it was a very low calorie diet as well. And the point of that was not to lose weight, it was actually to reset my system. What then happened is when I reintroduced a lot of the foods that I used to eat all of the time and think I'd had no issues with, I suddenly noticed I was bloating, and I suddenly had an awareness of what bloating actually felt like, which I didn't before. So now that I know what bloating feels like, and I know that when I eat certain foods, that my body responds in a particular way and my stomach instantly gets tight and doesn't feel good. And I can actually see inflammation in my face now when I've had a really bad period of eating for a couple of weeks, and I feel a bit puffy and I can see it in my silhouette. That is the difference that I became aware of after doing something as drastic as an elimination diet. It may or may not be for you. There would be, within everything that's available, there is something that would work for you. So what this information is about is actually saying, out of everything that's available, whether it's the Candida diet or paleo way of eating or the HCG protocol or going on a smoothie detox or a juicing cleanse or whatever it is, there is something that your body will say, try this, okay? And you're going to say, that sounds like a terrible idea. Why would I not eat chocolate when I love chocolate? Why would I not eat pasta when it's my favorite thing? Or whatever it is. Or worse, or on the other hand, why would I eat pumpkin when I hate pumpkin, which is what happened to me 2 weeks ago. And it was the most delicious thing I'd ever eaten, and I couldn't believe it. But that's what this is about. This is about getting out of your mind and all of the things you've already decided work or don't work for your body, or that you do respond well to or don't respond well to. If you had no idea, if you suddenly were like, okay, well, I don't know anything about bodies or health or what I should or shouldn't be doing, what or how should or could I be eating? What or how should or could I be exercising or moving my body? You're going to start to get results, or you're at least going to start to get an awareness of what works for your body and what doesn't. So within that, there's so much information. Like within that, for example, bread. Some breads work great for me and some breads don't. And sometimes I'm really slow. So again, within that elimination protocol and within body whispering, this is not about saying, okay, I'm allergic to dairy and not having anything from the dairy group, or bread or gluten doesn't work for me. I've been really slow to realize, because I really like eating it, that the sourdough dough or bread at the cafe downstairs doesn't work for me, because I feel bloated after I eat it every time. But I can eat a bagel and I'm okay. So you've got to start to do those things. Like you've got to listen to your body. You can't just use your mind all the time. Okay, do we have any questions coming up about that information?
I can start if somebody doesn't know. Yes, Jody, go for it.
Hey guys.
Hi.
Hey, look, I've been vegetarian for about 14 years and then changed to being vegan about 6 years ago now, and I'm just wondering if I need to give that up. I don't know, because I've got a few of my ex's friends and stuff, and I go around to their house and have a cup of tea and stuff, and they're like, I'll bring the bickies out, and then of course, because they're, derivatives of milk and all that kind of stuff, and then I might choose not to have it, but then they're all like, oh, are you sure you don't want to give that up, and I'm just like, oh, do I?
Okay, so you're the second. I've got another question that's come through from Greece about being a vegan. So great. Okay, so very similar line of questioning. Should I still be a vegan? Like, if consciously or cognitively it makes complete sense for me to be a vegan and it's what's in line with my morals, but I'm not sure where that sits with my body, like what awareness can you give me? So do this little exercise again that I just told you. Pretend that you don't know any of the stuff that you do. Pretend that the people and the tools, like whether they're access people or non-access people, whether it's your doctor, whether it's your mum, someone that worked for me turned vegan, and you know, her family grew up on a cattle ranch and they were so offended that she would become a vegan, you know. So you've got both you've got both sides of the story here. But if you didn't have all of the projected ideas from other people, whether it was pro or anti being a vegan, whether if people weren't interested in and you weren't interested in maintaining a point of view or proving a point, what would work best for your body?
I still get that I'd choose not to select meat products and things like that, but I wouldn't have to justify it, if you know what I mean. Like, I wouldn't have to have a point of view about it, or, you know, I'm not going to say to people, oh, I'm vegan, I don't eat that. It's just like, oh, I choose to have that. And like, I still, every time I do go to the fridge, and if I do manage to get myself into a space of, okay, right, body, what do you want? It still chooses, you know, selects the things in the fridge that, you know, have no animal products in it. And it's like, that's cool. And, you know, the day I go to the fridge and it says, give me that steak, I'll be like, oh my God. And I'll probably have to give someone a call, but, you know.
Yeah, and you've had so many great points there, but that's exactly right. Like, for example, I just want to hit a few of the arguments for and against being a vegan, and you can apply this to them being a vegetarian or any other derivative that you want. If you, like, for example, pumpkin seeds have way more iron than anything else. So if you require, like when people say, oh, don't you need iron? Or doesn't your body feel like it's missing out? Or are you getting enough nutrients? There's more than enough nutrients in many other food groups that are completely vegetarian or vegan available to you, okay? On the other hand, I used to live with someone who was a vegan, and they were miserable. They were so miserable, and what happened is, I didn't realize it, but my body was trying to make up for their body being hungry all the time, and I turned into a crazy meat-eating monster. So that was an example of someone who being vegan really didn't work for their body, okay? On the other hand, I've got a really good friend right now, and he's into going to the gym. He's really into performance and working out, but does listen to his body. And he realized that he was feeling terrible most of the time, and he became vegan. And it's working out so well for him. He's looking so good. He's feeling so good. His body's working better than it ever did. And being a vegan is a total success story for him. So if we got out of our projections and expectations, and also our judgments around, this is what it means to be a vegan, this is what it means to not be a vegan, this is why I'm a vegan, because I really believe in da-da-da-da-da. Like, what would your body choose?
Yeah, I get that. I've had most of my fun has been when I have been listening to what my body wants to have and going with the choices that it makes, because as a vegan you can still make really shitty choices in what you eat anyway. But
to keep an eye on, because for me, my concern when people talk about being a vegetarian or vegan is if you're having very high amounts of carbs because you're hungry and bread fills you up, is that the most nourishing thing to be putting in your body? But I mean, you're in New Zealand, aren't you?
Yeah.
So, I mean, in New Zealand, we've got amazing options now, and same in Australia, like your options for like coconut yogurt and coconut ice cream and
oh my God,
and things that you can still have as alternatives, and cashew cheese and all sorts of stuff. Like, you've got those options now. So if it's working for your body, like, your job is not to make other people feel better about what you're doing.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I did realize one of the things is that tofu just does not work for me. Like, really, I get that major bloating, and I actually get quite crook for a few days after. And it's not until I've come out of that and then I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, it must have been the tofu. And then, and it goes right down to even soy milk. So I'll go out with a friend and have a soy latte or something like that, and I go downhill quite fast, and it's not until I've come out of it that I look back and I'm like, oh wow, it was the soy. So I mean, that's cool.
So soy obviously doesn't work for your body.
Yeah.
Coconut might.
Oh my gosh, yes it does. In every way, and it tastes delicious.
Awesome. Okay, thank you for your question. Okay. Is there another question out there? Oh, sorry, it disappeared. Is there another question there?
Anybody else? Okay. While we wait, I have something.
Yes.
I'm going to wait for some questions to come. So this is so interesting that you start with this. We did want to do this hangout, but I had no sort of a sense of where you were going. And for the last 2 days, I have gotten off gluten, dairy, and peanuts and soy and eggs and stuff. And it's like the elimination thing. And then after 3 weeks of doing that, I want to introduce one of those back for a week just to sort of see. It is just, I'm blown. I'm blown with this just 2 days ago.
And it doesn't, like, especially, from where we've come from, like, I've done lots of things with being a chiropractor, and there's so many projections, and even if you're around, being all-inclusive and non-judgmental, and, there's nothing bad in any food group, and that's completely true, but that still means there's still certain food groups that work for you and not, and there's still quantities of food groups that would work for you or not. And like, just for example, I think high fructose corn syrup in most situations is not a great idea, but in some things my body loves it and will eat it. But if you so when I talk about high fructose corn syrup, guys, I'm assuming that most of you know what it is and what I'm talking about. But basically, in most things that taste good, especially if they've come from America or they're produced by a company like Nestle, or Heinz, it's even in your savory foods, it's something that's put in instead of sugar. It's so fructose, which is, a building block of sugar, and it's highly concentrated. It's in a syrup that your body actually cannot break down very well. It cannot digest it very easily. And like I said, what's happened is now the way we eat is those foods are no longer treat foods that your body's getting once a week or even once a day. Most of us would not realize that we're having high fructose corn syrup in most of our snacks, anything in a packet or vending machine, and anything that we're eating, like I said, in a ready-made or frozen or any of that. So then your body's getting it multiple times in the day, and it's not able to break down this thing that you're continuously ingesting. So what is that creating for your body? And what is that creating for your digestive system? So when you do something like an elimination protocol, you're going to be able to identify the foods. But you're also going to be able to identify that, wow, this whole group of foods didn't work for me. What do they have in common? they've all got this thing in it, or they've all got this number in it. You know, if something's starting with an E, something, 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 it's not a natural product, okay? So, like I said, our bodies are so smart, they are so capable that a small, even to a medium to large amount of stress and a large amount of toxins, it can take. It will take it, it'll process it, it'll continue to function, and it'll go on doing what we ask it to do. However, because we're doing this day after day, year after year, our bodies are reaching that critical mass point. And because of the change in how we're eating, where even a country like India, or has way worse food now.
So true.
Way worse food than it should. And we're starting to get it now in New Zealand, where we're this clean green country with amazing food sources that's available to us, and yet, you know, we're getting the imports coming in, and we're eating these foods now where our bodies are, like I said, they're getting sicker, they're getting fatter, they're getting slower, and they're getting in more pain at a younger age, and having ill health as a society way more than it needs to. And that's why I wanted to start having this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it's so normal for people to be sick. Like, we don't even know how it's okay to have that much level of acid reflux, and it's okay to be bloated and gassy, because everyone will medicate you for it, but nobody will tell you, where is it coming from? Can you change the source point? You know, where are you creating this? And you also mentioned about, besides just food, like the stress levels and the thought processes and the way we are. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that too? And that toxin that we release in our body? Yeah,
and just two things on what you said there. Like, my body hasn't been sick for at least 2 years. Like, I just haven't been sick. And I've had very, very, very high levels of stress in my life over the last 2 years. And it still has managed to not get sick. Like, I haven't been sick in bed. I haven't had a day off work because I've been sick. Okay. So that's one thing of what's possible. The second layer that I want to talk about, absolutely. Love those sounds in the background of India. No, it's fine. Stress levels are a huge part of what I do. So the second aspect of what I do, even just as a chiropractor and as a practitioner in practice, is I work from newborns, so babies, through to adults of any age, and look at the stress component of what's affecting their life and their body. So why are babies getting reflux? Why do we have a really large amount of medicated newborns, 3-month-olds, 1-year-olds? Why do we have such high medication rates in children? Their bodies haven't actually been around long enough to have those issues. But what they have had is they've been around their mothers, or in utero, or in environments that are very highly stressful from the time that they're conceived. So I also do a large amount of work with children and their bodies, and working with their parents around what is happening in this environment that's creating this. Okay, so environment and stress is a huge contributor to your state of health. Do you have a follow-up question for me, Tolika? Do you want to unmute?
So in that case, then even taking care of your food and what you ingest besides makes it even more important for you to get into that, isn't it? Because like you said, you've been under stress for the last 2 years. So having taking care of your body, moving it as well, that's another part that I would love for you to talk about. And also for me, moving my body has gotten so difficult because I'm constantly inflamed. I can tell when I'm in pain, my joints hurt and my body hurts, and I don't feel like moving, right? So a little bit about that, but more importantly, yes, the food and what I ingest and what I have is so much more important in case I can't just leave and live somewhere else. And
okay, I want to talk about food because this is what I was talking about. Okay, so what I'm about to say, if you're not familiar with listening to your body, might sound radical, but I really do believe that we are all overeating. I still do it. Like, I am still eating more than my body requires to eat. So what happens in our bodies is our bodies actually produce an immune response when they're being attacked. And I really do think, and in fact, for those of you who are familiar with Access Consciousness and listen to the podcast that Gary and Dane did on obesity, they talked about this. They talked about the fact that once you ingest anything into your body that goes from being of benefit to it, that goes over that quota, it then becomes harmful. Because anything that we're doing in our bodies, if you over-exercise, what happens? You injure yourself. If you have too much of a good thing even, it can become something that is no longer a good thing. It becomes something that your body needs to process. So when your body needs to process something, it uses energy. When we're eating 3 humongous or large meals a day, plus having snacks and plus a couple of coffees with friends, is that really how much our bodies are asking to be fed? Or are we now creating a backlog of work for our bodies to do? So imagine your computer, and imagine that you're, typing away and you're doing your thing, and in the background you've got all your background browsers and all the background programs that are running on your computer, and you keep adding more and more and more and more stuff to what you want your computer to do. And in the background, it still needs to run all of those normal operating systems for that computer to actually function. If you push that computer hard enough, it's eventually going to crash, or it's going to slow down to the point where it's not usable anymore. Most of us are familiar with that concept, and then you go, I need to close some tabs on my browser or whatever it is. Imagine your body's doing that. You've just said that your body's gotten slow. It's not moving with ease. You're finding it hard to move. You're not sure about where you're at with eating. Well, I would start by reducing drastically the amount that you eat. What you'll be surprised by is the fact that you've still got more than enough energy to get through the day. This is the stuff that I wanted to talk about, that where it starts getting a little bit radical, is I've been really looking into and experimenting with fasting. Okay, so fasting is the concept or the component of not eating food for a particular amount of time, or either having really limited amounts of food or certain food groups. So there's all sorts of fasts. You could do a water fast where you only have water. You could do just like a juice fast or a cleanse, or you could do a complete nil by mouth. Okay, you could have nothing. So again, I'm someone who's pretty in tune with my body. I'm someone who also I'm in the health field, and I'm also pretty comfortable with how much I can push my body and how much I can't. But over the last month, I went through a period where not only was I fasting and not eating anything at all, but I still kept up all of my normal PT sessions. So I exercised like I normally would in an intensive environment. I didn't even have, anything pre-workout, post-workout. And I was curious. It wasn't something I was doing that I was going to do it even if it killed me. I was just willing to eat or drink as my body required. My body got through fine. I did it for about 3 days, and it was awesome. It demonstrated to me how much of a myth we've bought into about needing to eat large amounts of food and needing to eat 3 meals a day, and how you probably should pack something to have as a snack and graze on continuously. Okay. Is grazing and snacking great? Yes, if that's how you eat. If that is what works for your body, and you're a grazer and a snacker, look at kids. Kids know what's up. Kids know what works for their body. And the best or the most in tune parents that I have that come into my practice, they say, oh yeah, you know, she eats like that all day. Like we put her plate down and she'll eat, and then she'll go and do her thing and come back to her plate and eat it. And they're not the parents that have made their kids sit down and eat their meal and said, if you don't finish what's on your plate, you can't get up, or whatever that is. And I'm not, you know, I'm not giving parenting advice right now. I'm giving eating advice. So I'm sure you do what you need to in terms of creating an environment for your family to eat in, but look at how kids function or what works for your child when they're eating, and then look at how you're eating and the amount that your child eats and the amount that you're eating, and be like, wow, your stomach doesn't grow. Your stomach's not that big or that big or that big. Your stomach still stays about that big, no matter what size your body is. So anything on top of that, your body's having to work really hard. And so that's why I do think we're getting as fat and as sick internally as well as externally. Yeah. Okay.
So we have another question.
Yes.
So Michelle had something very interesting to say. She says in some countries, tomato sauce is no longer allowed to be called that. It has to be called tomato flavored sauce, as it has too much sugar and the levels of tomatoes are too small.
Isn't that interesting? And for you guys, like, here's a really interesting thing to do if you're not doing it already. Like, read the label, read the ingredient list on your food. I don't normally go grocery shopping, but I did the other day. And I was trying to buy just a couple of things, and I turn it around, and if I read that the first ingredient on that thing that's meant to be a food that I'm consuming is sugar, whether it's sauce or a condiment or even something that's meant to be, like, it shouldn't really have a large amount of sugar. I'd understand if it was well down in the list and just added for a little bit of flavor. But when you pick something up and the first or second ingredient is sugar, and it's not something that you think of as a sweet food, like, have a think about that. There's lots of foods out there that you'll be really surprised what's on the ingredient list. For example, in New Zealand and Australia, Nestle or a lot of the coffee, I think it's Nescafe, the coffee companies, they create these ready-to-go coffee sachets. So they're these sachets where you pour it into your cup, you pour in hot water, and it's already got the milk and the flavor and the coffee in it. Like something like that, apart from the sugar and the coffee and the milk that you'd expect to find in there, that's got high fructose corn syrup in it. That's got a whole lot of other additives in it, and it's got other things to stop the powders from sticking together and becoming a big clump. So those are the little things I'm talking about. Does your body really need that or not? Does your body have to work? If you have one of those in a week, that's awesome. But if you're having that plus lots of other things in the day, how much of that stuff is building up and slowing your body down and slowing down your body's ability to do what it needs to do quicker and faster?
Adeela, just a little story about that. I drink Vienna, which is one of those pre-made coffees, regularly. Yeah. And I was hassling Glenn about drinking too much beer and it would make him fat. And he went, well, have you looked at what's in Vienna? And so we actually did a comparison. And even before you add any milk or sugar into a Vienna, there are more calories in a Vienna than there is in a beer. Right?
And you would have been going,
I'm just having a coffee.
I'm having a coffee. And that's in a sachet, right? That you think, and I'm making this at home, so technically it's homemade. It's not even a Starbucks Frappuccino with the whipped cream on top. So that's what I'm talking about. If you're in that group of people who's wondering why you've got weight that's not coming off, or why you've got health that doesn't look like how you think it should be, I literally have people that come in to see me and they tell me they eat well. And when they tell me what they've been eating, I go, okay, we've got a little bit of work to do, because as much as you think you're eating well, or you think you're just having a coffee for morning tea, but it's a Vienna coffee every day of the week for morning tea, is that affecting your body's ability to process things or metabolize things? And again, ask your body, because you might be someone, Michelle, where the Viennas actually work for you. But you've got to start asking. So I ask what my body wants to eat all the time. Like, I'm always asking, because some days or weeks, it's great. And then, like I said, if I've just come off a 2-week period where I know I've overindulged, and you will know, because, you know, if you've drunk a lot of alcohol, if you've had a lot of caffeine products, or you've had a lot of junk foods, and you look in the mirror and you look puffy, and you look a little, your face just doesn't have the glow, or you look tired, that's your body talking to you. So that's when I know, okay, I need to rein this back in. I need to really eat how my body wants to eat. And that would probably be that my body doesn't want to eat much at all for the next week.
Okay, and we have one more question to take, and I think I'll be last. My body wants a lot. This is from Sneham. She's saying, my body wants a lot of sleep past 1 month. So much so that I'm taking time off work. Most nights I feel I'm working as I sleep, and then there are mornings when I wake up like a clean slate, but it soon fills up. Can you please run a process for this? I'm feeding it what it wants. I'm these days transitioning from full-time palliative doctor to enabling people's bodies to connect with the earth. Wonder if it's clearing as a facilitator. Don't know at what level. What would you work through this issue?
Okay, so first of all, awesome that you're eating what your body wants. There's also a lot of other things that your body does. Are you doing those things that your body wants? So we haven't yet even talked about moving your body in the way your body wants to move. Or is it in an environment that's nurturing for it? Is it around people that's nurturing for it? Is it doing what it wants to do, or are you giving your body a harder time than it needs to have? On the other hand as well, so ask it all of those questions like, body, are you an environment that you like? Are you getting what you need and all the other physical comforts that you require? And then the couple of other things that I wanted to touch on with this actually is I do recommend supplements. I think supplements are not mandatory, but I think for some bodies, they require them. So does your body need some supplements? And some of the supplements that I use regularly and I think are really great is magnesium. Okay, magnesium is great for a good night's sleep. It's great for muscle aches, tiredness, or cramps. And it also facilitates your nervous system. So does it need magnesium? Does it need vitamin D? Vitamin D is great for all sorts of things, mental health, your bone strength, again, your body's ability to do things, to move, to eat, to sleep, general sense of well-being. Does your body need some vitamin C? Very high levels or very high doses of vitamin C at a very pure quality have been shown to be able to counteract or prevent nearly any disease if you've got enough vitamin C, okay? There's a whole therapy around that now. It's called chelation therapy, where they inject high levels of vitamin C into your body. Do I promote it? No, not really. Or yes, I don't really have a point of view. If that's something that's going to work for your body, look into it. There's all sorts of things that your body may need or require. It may need some physical work. It may need a massage. It may need another facilitator to either facilitate your body or your being to get to more ease. It may literally need that amount of sleep. But I do understand, because I have actually been there where my body just wanted to sleep all the time. I was so tired. Are you working through a huge transition? And you have just said that, yes, you are. So actually for your body, did you just say palliative care? All right. So your body Is it having a detox from all the healing that you've done for all the people that you used to work with? Okay, awesome.
She also said that, yeah, she's transitioning from a full-time, she says yes, yeah, from paleo doctor to now enabling people's body to connect with you.
So Sneha, something that you can ask your body to do is everything that it took on from all the bodies you worked with, and anything it might still be holding on to, anyone it's still trying to work on or heal, if you'd like to return that to sender. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Where are we at with time, Talika?
It's about an hour.
Right, okay, we're at an hour. So like I said, we didn't even get to a whole lot of the other stuff.
You knew that was going to happen.
Oh, you guys, was going to happen. So just quickly, a couple of things I wanted to talk about. So creating your life by receiving from your body. There is no area of your life that your body can't help you out with. When you do something, your body will give you a response, or your body will give you a guide, or your body will give you encouragement or determined. Yes, go in this direction. No, don't go in that direction. Your body is with you all the time. So this is not an external thing. This is about starting to receive the information that you have and the facilitator that you have walking around with you at all times, because it's your body, okay? And so going right back to the beginning of this telecall, when I said, let's get out of our cognitive minds. Let's forget about what we know. Let's forget about trying to understand this and follow this logically, because a lot of this isn't going to make logical sense. Logically, a lot of the things I do and where I've got to today, if I followed a logical timeline or pattern or did things in that way, I don't know where I would be right now, but it certainly wouldn't be here. And you've got to get to the point where you're willing to trust that instinct that you have and say, I'm going to listen to this, or I'm going to follow this through, and start to see what it creates for you. And a great place for you guys to start with body whispering, or listening to your body, or receiving from your body, or having greater awareness with your body or your life, is to start with the smallest thing possible. If this is something that boggles your mind and you're like, what on earth is she talking about? Start with something as small and as insignificant to you as possible. So, body, what would you like to drink? Would you like tea today or coffee? Or nothing? What would you like to do? What would you like to wear? And then what's going to start to happen is, as you start to have that conversation with your body more and more, and you start to create an acknowledgement of your body's knowing, you are going to start to trust your body, and your body is going to start to realize that you are willing to receive from it, and that relationship can actually become bigger, and you can start to exponentialize on what you're willing to do and where you're willing to go. I've gone many places on a whim. I've gotten on planes on a whim from the information that my body's given me, okay? This is about starting to listen to your body so that you can start to create a life that's congruent with you and your body. It's a life that feels good on the inside as well as the outside. So for those of you that are familiar with feeling good on the inside, or when you do something where you're like, oh my God, that felt so good. I listened to my gut instinct and it was exactly what I needed to do, and I knew that it was going to work out, it was going to be all right. That's what I'm talking about. Or the flip side of that is when you do something and you knew you shouldn't have. You know, when you know, I'm pretty sure this isn't going to work out, or I'm pretty sure I can't trust this person, or I'm pretty sure that if I go to that place or do this thing, it's not going to end out well for my body. And you go to that place or you do that thing and you break your leg, or you end up having a fight with someone you really care about, or you end up, gaining 40 kilos over the lifetime of your marriage. I'm kidding. But what I'm talking about here is really starting to follow your body's knowing, because if you start to do that in small instances, you're going to start to create a collection of moments, and those collection of moments is what life is. Okay, so if like I said, there is so much more that I did have to talk to you guys about, and I apologize if this hangout did not address all of your questions or wants or needs. We do have 2 more hangouts to go. So we have body whispering and business next, and that's going to start to really look at whether you have a business, want to have a business, or are wondering how to create a business, or are wondering about anything that's got to do with money, business, creating in a way that is profitable to you or works for you out in the world. That will be a very much a free form class. So we're going to start with your questions and go wherever the energy takes us. The last one is body whispering and relationships. And I do find this stuff pretty, I find it pretty hilarious that I'm doing these hangouts, because business and relationship are 2 areas that I don't actually talk about. I don't talk about them because I do what I do and it works for me, and I don't really feel the need to talk about it. And so it wasn't until I went and did the last body whispering stuff in Sydney where I started to get questions around relationship and business, and I was like, isn't this obvious? Like, isn't this how you operate in relationship? Wouldn't you create a relationship that feels good for your body? Wouldn't you be with someone that feels good or is nurturing to your body? Like, all of these things that, again, to me, they're just not the area that I thought I had anything to talk about. Well, apparently I do, or body whispering does and wants to share it with you guys. That's what's happening in the next 2 hangouts. So pretty excited. Don't know exactly what it's going to create, because like I said, these classes create themselves. Do send in your questions for them. What we're doing between now and the next hangout and until the end of the series is the Body Whispering with Dr Adeela Afiz group, which is on Facebook. If you're not already a part of it, ask to join the group, because that's going to become your little support network in between these hangouts. So I'm going to be on there a lot. I'm going to let you know in the next few days times where I will be live online to answer questions as they come in, and times where I will be doing little videos for you either on a particular topic or again live, so answering the questions as they come in. And so it'll keep you going if you feel like you're lost out at sea in between now and the next hangout. Okay, so yep, I'm sure there's lots more, but when we send out the recording for this, which we will do tomorrow, with a link to the Facebook group and any home play exercises that I come up with between now and then, I will get you can respond, you can reply back to me at that email address or talk to me in that Facebook group, okay? So before I go, is there any burning thing that I haven't done, hosts, or any participant that needs anything urgently?
So, Adeela, if people don't live in Auckland and would love to have a private session with you, is that a possibility?
Yes, Michelle, great question. So my site, dradeelaafiz.com, which hopefully most of you have visited because you actually registered for this class, so we can actually send you this recording. If you go to that site and you go to shop, or you go, yeah, I think it's shop, we'll add this in the link to the email. There is a book a session area where you can book in a session for a body whispering session or a one-on-one consult regarding business or personal. What I will do between now and the end of the Hangout series, which is not until September, is if you need to have a one-on-one session with me from anywhere in the world, which we'll do via Skype, is I will do that at a 50% discount. So what that means is instead of $150 for your session, it's only going to be $75 for a half-hour session, or 150, I think, for your full. No, it might be less than that, 125 for an hour. Okay, so if you want to take advantage of that, we will send that link out to you, or you can find it on my website. You can book it now, and on PayPal, when you go to pay for it, just write Body Whispering Hangout and only put through 50% of the amount that you need to. Okay, awesome. So thank you so much, guys. I'm always really, really grateful for the people that are willing to show up and go somewhere that's not entirely obvious as to where we're going from the outset. And so that shows a lot of courage, and your support from all over the world has been amazing. So thank you, and let me know what else you require. Okay,
I'm going to unmute you all so you can say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys for showing up.
Adeela.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adeela. That was amazing.
Good night, guys.
So grateful. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.